Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today is the last of almost 10 days of sitting in the seat of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the chairman of the PLP in Grand Bahama, which marks the last day of the visit here. And I thought I would take this as an opportunity to summarize what I found and to give you an opportunity to examine some of the comments that I've been made and summaries that I've made about what is transpiring here in Grand Bahama. First, I want to extend my thanks to the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Freeport and to the members of the Progressive Liberal Party at our headquarters who organized various events for me to have an interface with the communities in Grand Bahama at the political level and at the governmental level. It was interesting speaking to employees who were working and citizens who were working in Grand Bahama about various complaints which they had which needed to be addressed. And I was happy to be able to play some part in trying to resolve any issues which are outstanding. I'm certain that there are many more, but this is a stab at trying to assist the work of the Ministry of Grand Bahama in trying to resolve issues which citizens here in Grand Bahama might find which afflict them. In terms of the politics, it was interesting to also participate in the demonstrations here, dealing with the rate increase and to interface with people about their concerns about power here in Grand Bahama. And then to visit some of the sites which are creating issues. Of course, the bridge, which is now front and center, I see from the newspapers this morning, people are raising concerns about that and the impact which it's going to have on the community and the ability to fix the bridge. What I can say, though, as a summary, is from east to west that there is a positive spirit in the people of Grand Bahama, that notwithstanding all of the afflictions and problems of the past and the continuing issues, they have a sense that the community has a positive future. And this gives me the confidence myself to continue as a public policy maker to do all those things that can make Grand Bahama and Freeport a successful community. So I want to thank everybody again for their interactions with me, with the frankness with which they've discussed the matters, and I look forward to continuing from Nassau and coming back, of course, as I do on an often basis, but on this longer period, to just say thank you and to say that we'll continue the fight for supporting Grand Bahama and its economy going forward. So thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Can you just speak a little bit more on the bridge?
Well, I read this morning, the Prime Minister is visiting today, and I read this morning in the press of a letter which was published which indicates that an investor and businessman, or a set of businessmen in Grand Bahama, are concerned that the delay on the repairs of the bridge will imperil an investment. This again goes to the heart of what is at risk in this community about investment, which is the central body that is responsible for promoting investment are the owners of the city. And the owners of the city, in the frankest terms, are the Grand Bahama Port Authority. And the question is whether or not they're performing their role as the owner of the city to ensure that the level of investment in the city continues and that people know that when they come here, the necessary infrastructure is going to be in place for the city to operate. Now, the bridge is just one such example. That bridge, I believe, was closed in October of last year, so it's almost a year since it's been closed. And there's signs saying the bridge is still closed. There's a limitation of 5 tons on the bridge. It has been, from what I could see, not being observed because people have to use the bridge to get across. And while I was there doing a stand-up to show that the bridge was closed, a tractor goes with another tractor, a trailer goes with a tractor on the back of it, and I'm sure that was more than 10 tons. So people are not actually observing it, and you can see the video online of it passing as I'm speaking. So there's a clear and present danger if they're saying that it's 10 tons and it should be limited to 10 tons, compared to the other bridge, the bridge which goes to the west of the airport, which has a limit of 50 tons. So that's what it should be. So again, this just points out the concern that people have about the impact of this economy and the ability of the people who are the owners of the city to manage the city so that the economy can continue to grow.
So this is affecting investors here.
Well,
The fact that-
there's a story in your newspaper this morning, in the business section this morning, saying
Yeah,
that a letter writer had written complaining about this if they don't address it. So it seems to me it this proves the point. There is, of course, the fact that new investment is being promised. You know, the Prime Minister's coming here to go look at Carnival. There are the talk with the Grand Bahama Shipyard and the training of Bahamians to go and work in the shipyard. All of that is a promising future for this island and for the city. But the infrastructure has to be there to support it. For example, the electricity company is now asking for a rate increase. While I was at lunch yesterday, the power goes off. I thought that when this new company came here, the promise by the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the company was that these issues of power blackouts would be resolved in Grand Bahama and would not be occurring. But I'm told that there's been a system of blackouts going on for the last month in the city. I'm told that there is not sufficient reserve capacity in the power company. In particular, there may be a shortage of transformers, so people are on pins and needles, that if something happens which requires a transformer, Grand Bahama will again be an issue. And I'd like, if the press can investigate that report, which came to me this morning, about the availability of transformers in the island. But there should be, in an island which has this much wealth and development, there should be a redundant capacity in the power system. And we should not be in Grand Bahama suffering blackouts as they are in other parts of the Bahamas. The other point I would make, which is a point which I will give to our supporters tomorrow morning, is there was a comment made by the leader of the opposition that people from Nassau should not be coming to Grand Bahama to make comments on what's happening in Grand Bahama. Now, I find this a really strange thing because the leader of the opposition himself is from Nassau. He moved to Grand Bahama to get a seat in Parliament. So by his logic, because he now lives in Grand Bahama, he should not be saying anything about what's happening in Nassau, if his logic is correct. The fact is, the Bahamas is what you call a unitary state. It's a kingdom. It's not a republic. It is not a federal state. So in kingdoms or unitary states, power resides at the center and is diffused outwards. So there aren't separate centers of power. There's only one center of power. That's Nassau. Now, you have an administrative measure in the Constitution as to how power is going to be accumulated and divided. That mechanism is at least 38 members of Parliament and 16 senators. And they speak for the entire country. They sit in Nassau, but they speak for the entire country, including, of course, their own constituencies. So for a national leader to get up and say that because I'm from Nassau or you're from Grand Bahama, you can't comment on what's going on in the rest of the Bahamas, that's foolish on the face of it, because the Constitution itself says that laws are passed for the peace and good order of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And the 38 members of Parliament and 16 senators vote on those laws. That's how they get the power to do the things we do. So I just want to, clear that up quite plainly, that is not a statement which is correct or factually based. Right?
There is a question from our news here. BJ is on the other.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see if I get him. BJ.
Hi.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Minister Mitchell. You
Morning.
mentioned some comments from the FNM leader. Yesterday, he said that he is willing to make public the FNM's campaign donors amid the unsubstantiated claims that he received donation from the Grand Bahama Port Authority. At that time, he challenged the now government of the PLP to do the same. Is this something that the PLP is actually willing to do to release their donor list for the last election?
Look, let me put it this way. I'm not getting into any games with, with the leader of the opposition over this. There's only one issue which is before us. The issue is, does he support the people of the Bahamas and his constituents versus the Grand Bahama Port Authority? The whole question of, is he carrying water for the Grand Bahama Port Authority or is he supporting the Bahamian public? That's the issue. The issue is not who got what donations and who got what money. Because there is a system of donations in the country, and some of those donations are tied to, you don't know, confidentiality interests. If he wants to do that, that's his business. What is before us is, if you did get money, or are you singing a song for these people because you hope for a donation in the future, or you've gotten a donation in the past? That's the issue before us. So that's the public policy issue. So I'm not, engaging in his sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, and trying to switch the game on me. That's an old trick. I'm too old a dog to be, falling for that trick.
I also wanted to ask that this conversation or this has brought up the question or the topic of, I guess, campaign finance legislation you mentioned about some things being confidential.
Yeah.
How high is this on the government's priority in terms of bringing legislation to about campaign finance before this term ends? Is this something that we will see done under this PLP administration?
I can't, again, pronounce on any of that. I know that people talk about campaign finance reform. My own personal view is there's no appetite for campaign finance reform in this country because neither side can agree on the terms of disclosure in this country. And that is my personal view. As for the public policy, that's something which my colleagues in the cabinet will have to decide. As a philosophical point, it's like apple pie. Everybody agrees with campaign finance reform. So I can't say I disagree with it, but the devil is always in the details.
Okay, thank you.
Righto. That's it from Grand Bahama. Ms. Maycock?
Yeah, that's good. I'm good.
Great.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much again, Grand Bahama, and we shall see you in the suite by and by.
Minister, let me say this to you. You have been a faucet for people in Grand Bahama for years now. You and I were talking, and a young lady came there and said, you whom? I told them, I said, this has always been your home. Let me say that I know for a known fact that you've been the faucet for everybody in Grand Bahama, the small and the big. And let me say, I don't know what your future lies for you, but I can say this to you. I am pleased with you, sir, and with your performance. And you as a person that anyone calls on you, you call them back and you try to help them.
So God bless you, sir.
That's what is being said about you every day. God bless you, brother, and continue doing the best.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be talking to one another soon. Thank you.